Hello my virtual internet friends. I've been meaning for quite some time to do some basic kind of jazz lessons, so I thought I'd start today by just giving you a rundown on the really basic jazz chords. There's kind of 10 grips that you really need to know if you want to start playing into doing some jazz tunes. They would be, with a 6th string root, you need to know a major 7 chord, a dominant 7th chord, a minor 7 chord, a minor 7 flat 5 chord, and a diminished chord. Now, if you know those 5 shapes, that's with a 6th string root, and as well those 5 shapes with the root on the 5th string as well, then you can kind of get your way going through most jazz tunes. Now, just something to explain before we get going about using these chords that's quite important. Very often when if you buy a book that I really recommend you have is called a real book, and that's a book full of most of the jazz standards, like the common songs that you might play if you wanted to get into jazz, like Autumn Leaves and All the Things You Are and Blue Bossa and all of these kind of famous jazz songs. Sometimes they'll have a kind of a variation of a chord that you might not know, so it'll have, like, say, a G9 chord. And if you don't know how to play a G9 chord, you can always play a G7 instead. The same as if it said a G minor 11, you could just play a G minor 7 chord. You can boil any chord down. There's a bunch of information on this on my website, and also there's a masterclass by a friend of mine called David Mead, which explains the same kind of principles. It's really important that you understand that, otherwise you'll start trying to play your jazz songs and get stumped on these chords that you don't know. But with these 5 in 2 positions, so a total of 10 grips, you can pretty much get by and play any standard that you like. So I'm going to go to a close-up now and show you how to play these 10 chords. Okay, here we go. So the first chord that I'd recommend that you learn is this one. Here's the 3rd fret. This is a G, and this is a G major 7th chord that we're going to form, which looks like this. The easiest way to get to this chord is if you start with a B minor bar chord, which would have that root note there at the 2nd fret. If you just move your first finger over onto the G, you end up with a G major 7th chord. So we've got 1st finger on the note G, 3rd finger on the note F sharp at the 4th fret, little finger on the note B at the 4th fret as well, 3rd string, and 2nd finger is there on the 2nd fret, in the same fret as the 2nd string, I should have said. It's in the same fret as the 1st finger. So you start with those 2 and put that down. But like I said, the easiest way is to go from B minor to there. So that's your G major 7th chord. Now, the next chord that we're going to talk about is G7. Now this is quite a common chord. If you just start with your regular G-shaped bar chord like this, and lift off your little finger, you get a G7 chord. Now, of this chord, I'm actually only really playing these notes, which is the 6th string. We're missing the 5th string, and the 5th string's muted. I should have explained that really for the major 7, so I'm just going to go back a sec. So the 5th string here is muted by the underneath of the 1st finger just there is muting the string, and also the thinnest string down there is also muted by the underneath of the 1st finger under there. So even if you were to strum it, you're only getting this note, muted, note, 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 muted. Now, generally this is done with the right hand, the plucking hand, which is generally going to be playing thumb and 3 fingers like that. You can see the fingers are ready to pluck. So you've got the thumb and the fingers together, and that's generally how this chord will be played. So if we go on to G7 chord like this, which is the standard kind of way of playing a G7, we're actually only playing the 6th string, the 4th string, the 3rd string, and the 2nd string. But I'd recommend, if you're going to do it good, you probably want to put your 3rd finger down there anyway, even though you're not playing it, just in case you accidentally hit that string. At least it's a good note. So you can play it like that, or like that if you wish. So that's G7. Again, there's the root note. Next one we're looking at is minor 7. Now there's another way of playing this chord. You might have learnt it like this. That finger's not touching anything, by the way. So, which is okay, but it's not really a very jazzy sounding chord, whereas this chord is a lot more jazzy. So again, we've got the trick with this one is this finger is laying down and pressing down the 4th string, 3rd string and 2nd string, and this finger sits over the top like that over the top of this finger, and that will mute that middle string, and you'll still play the 6th string. The problem is if you let it sneak behind, you'll end up pressing down both the 5th string and the 6th string, and that tends to sound a bit horrible if you go to strum it. But again, you would be picking thumb on the bass on the 6th string, and the strings 4, 3 and 2 would be plucked with the 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers of the plucking hand. So that's your G minor 7. Now the next one we've got is, this is G minor 7 flat 5. So we've got 2nd finger on the 6th string, 3rd finger on the 4th string, little finger on the 3rd string, all in the 3rd fret, and 1st finger sneaking down here, 2nd fret on the 2nd string, and we get our G minor 7 flat 5 chord. It's quite it's not used all the time, this chord, but it is in a thing called a minor 2-5-1, so it's quite an important chord to learn anyway. And lastly, we've got the diminished chord, which is the 1st finger is doing a little bar over strings 4, 3 and 2. 2nd finger is going down on the 6th string, and 3rd finger is going down on the 3rd string. So you've got the 6th string, the 5th string is muted, that's strings 4, 3 and 2, and the thinner string is muted. You can see that my 1st finger is kind of lifting it away from the guitar fingerboard there to mute that 1st string. Now let's have a look at those same chords, but now with the 5th string root. So we're now playing them in C. This is the first one here. This is a C major 7th, making sure the tip of your 1st finger mutes the 6th string, and then we've got, that's the 3rd fret, 5th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, thinner strings muted. You can put the bar down of the 1st finger and play that G as well if you wish on the thinner string, that note. Sounds quite nice, but generally I'd say bass note and 3 notes of the chord is a good way to go. So it's C major 7. Next we have C7, which simply removes your 2nd finger, so we've got now 3, 5, 3, 5. That's your C7 chord. Now to make this into a minor 7, all we do is move the little finger down 1 string. So now we've got 3, 5, 3, 4. And that would be C minor 7. Then if the next chord on our agenda would be minor 7 flat 5, which would be 1st finger, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 4th finger, frets 3, 4, 3, 4. Again, only the middle 4 strings are played, the bass note and 3 notes of the chord. And lastly we have a diminished chord, which if we leave the 3rd and 4th fingers where they were, move 2nd finger over to the root note, and 1st finger goes down here in the 2nd fret. So we've got there now 3rd fret, 4th fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret. We've got ourselves a C diminished chord. Once you've learned those 10 grips, the most important thing you can do is start trying to play some jazz standards. So go and get yourself a real book. There's quite a few kind of chord progressions and stuff around on the internet that are like for famous songs. I've even seen a couple of real book PDF files. The one that I rate the most is called the New Real Book, which has a lot better quality of standard in it. It's got they're kind of expensive, but they're big fat books, and there's lots of tunes in them. So I'd highly recommend getting a real book, trying to play as many tunes as you can, and getting to know those chords before you go starting to learn any fancy chords. And it'll give you a bit of a, that's your first step in trying to play some jazz. We'll be playing those chords and then trying to learn the melodies. So have a crack on that. Hope you have some fun with learning those new chords. Remember, if you don't subscribe, please hit the little orange button and subscribe to my channel. That would be appreciated. Take care, guys. Oh, all these chords are also on my website. If you go to the chords section of my website, you'll find all of these chords with little chord boxes and tabs and stuff. So take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.